Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for March 7th, 2025. I hope you all are having an excellent week out there in the financial markets. And as always, we're going to take a look at the most recent VantagePoint A.I predictive forecast. So if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on the link down in the description below and get signed up for a live demonstration so you can learn all the specifics about how these predictive indicators and technologies are helping traders make much better trading decisions out in the marketplace. Now, as we typically do, we start out by taking a look at the S&P 500 via the SPY ETF. And immediately what jumps out is year to date now we are down 2%. And that's because in the last 30 days, we've seen a lot of weakness across the market. And so this is why last week we were looking at Meta and a lot of these shares that have really highlighted that the broader market has turned lower. And definitely a great place to highlight that are shares of the IWM, or the small cap Russell 2000 index. And so this is a really great example to highlight how all of these predictive indicators and tools work. So what we're seeing here is daily price action, right? So each one of those candles is going to represent a full and complete trading day. And right up against that price data, you're going to notice that there is a black line and also a blue line value. So the black line that you're seeing there is actually a simple moving average. So this is a very common technical analysis indicator. In this case, this is a 10 period. So it'll look back at the previous 10 close prices, add them all together, and then divide by that number. And a lot of the weakness with traditional technical indicators like this is that all the data comes from the past. So it's really just summarizing what's already occurred in the market. And so what VantagePoint traders are able to do is compare that black lagging moving average to the proprietary predicted moving average generated via VantagePoint's technology. So we can think of this as a prediction of future average prices plotted on the chart moving forward every single trading day. And to generate these predictions, this is where the technology of artificial neural networks come into play. And they're performing what we would call intermarket analysis. So specifically here on shares of IWM and the Russell 2000, well, there are known market relationships that give us valuable clues into future price direction. And so those can be individual stocks throughout the index, right? Those, stocks that are overweighted on the index and can have some influence. This can be other ETFs or other broad futures market indices. But it's also able to look at all of these things like global interest rates or potentially currencies, where we've seen a lot of big moves in the euro and the dollar this week. And this really takes us all the way down even to things like global commodities, right? So gold, oil, whatever is specific to the market that you're trading. So it's taking this approach of looking at dozens of other markets, understanding those bullish and bearish relationships, how they're weighting on the stock that you're trying to trade, or in this case, an ETF, and then providing these valuable price clues. So whenever we see that blue line cross below the black line, it's because those intermarket relationships are skewing this indicator more and more bearishly. Now, since that forecast has come through, we've seen that, shares of the Russell specifically, and really the broader indices, whether it's the NASDAQ or the S&P 500, have moved lower. But we've seen the most weakness here, where we've seen here in the Russell that blue line moving, decidedly below that actual moving average and creating really the most distance here, highlighting a lot of weakness here. Now, at the very bottom of the chart, you'll see this bar that goes from green to red and back to green. Well, this is also utilizing that predictive technology, but it's tuned to solve a different problem over a different time frame here. And in this case, it would be short-term strength or weakness just over a 48-hour period or a couple of candles. And so we'll notice that when that neural index gets bullish, we get a consolidation in the market. We get a sideways price action. But the overall trend is still bearish as that predicted moving average remains below the actual moving average. You get a little blip here and immediately neural index remaining bearish here, and we see that weakness carrying out. So really nice opportunities throughout the broader markets, but on the bearish side. And specifically, if you just want to generalize that weakness, I think the Russell sort of stands out as a place to go ahead and do that. But here's shares of Meta. And so we looked at this last week and highlighted that, look, the broader market's turned lower. We actually looked at this as the market was trending higher here in Meta and catching this fresh downtrend. And so what I just want to highlight is that we have these predictive indicators and tools to guide us moving forward. And so we can see that trend is in a strong downtrend. We see a lot of separation this week between that predicted moving average and the actual moving average. And we've got our neural index, which at times will push up to a green configuration. But again, you could only be shorting, take profits on shorts, and you see you get that sort of sideways choppy price action. But in addition to those predictive indicators, VantagePoint's also providing a predicted high and a predicted low. So when it comes down to intraday price or day trading, this is these levels that are provided via also that predictive technology, but now again, tuned to solve an even shorter term problem of intraday price action. And so if we bring up all of those predictions against the actual market data, well, we can see what has been the forecast here for Meta. Well, clearly we're in a downtrend, and you're getting these levels highlighted as really the extremes of intraday price that if you want to take a short position, well, that's where you'd want to look to. So you actually see this is actually Monday this week. This is Wednesday this week. And again, these markets moving down towards these predicted lows where traders can look to take profit or keep establishing or building a position here. So we see the trend still bearish. Overall, Meta shares now down a little bit more here. Again, not as much as that 16% on the Russell here, but off about 10% here just in the past 11 trading days here. Here's shares of Amazon. And we looked at this last week as well. So I want to just, again, highlight some of these shorter term predictive indicators, but again, highlighting that broadly there's market weakness, right? We're looking at Meta, Amazon here, the major indice, and recognizing that there's broad-based weakness across the market. Going into the market this week, well, we can look towards those short-term predictive indicators. And again, we have these predicted highs standing out as, okay, well, if you're doing any trading, clearly in Amazon, it's saying the trend is lower. We may get some choppiness with that neural index going bullish, but you actually see what's interesting about this is if you have a limit order waiting on a trading day like this, you'll just get filled at the open as the market gaps up and immediately that weakness plays out and the market starts trading lower. So again, the next day pretty much filled at the high here and benefiting as we see this weakness again across prices generally. PayPal here. So this was another market that we looked at. And again, just using this example to highlight these short-term forecasts. Because if we can come in and say, okay, well, we knew these markets are already in downtrend, well, then we can evaluate these short-term predictive indicators, these predicted highs and lows that traders are using week to week. And so again, here we see moving up towards these predicted highs and failing. And this is where we can use tools like this to potentially build a position with profits from earlier on in the trading opportunity, right? So if we recognize these reversals early, we may be able to establish a position both in the short term, but holding out for the long term as these bearish trends continue. Now, I wanted to flip things around here just to highlight that the VantagePoint indicators work regardless of the broader market conditions. So certain individual stocks, well, are currently in uptrend. And so if you're trading Monster Beverage or potentially looking for bullish opportunities, well, here we see Monster Beverage, one of the fewer areas in the market where that blue line is solidly above the black line, neural index bullish. Now we have earnings right here in the middle of the chart, but notice how even despite earnings, how accurate all of these forecasts are. The overall trend is up. Certainly there'll be some volatility around earnings. Well, where is that likely to show up? Well, when that neural index is bearish and you see we get some weakness over those subsequent trading days. But as soon as you get through earnings, that neural index goes bearish. And even in a very bearish market week, here you see the Monster Beverage forecast being like, look, the trend is up. Short-term forecasts from the neural index are bullish. And if we want to look towards intraday levels, well, here on Monday, Tuesday, and here Thursday being levels to potentially be a buyer and take profit as we move up towards these predicted highs, just modeling what those short-term forecasts are highlighting. Additionally here, Colgate-Palmolive has been another one of these rare instances where a lot of strength from our blue line above the black line. Again, you'll get these periods where you see early on the neural index gets bearish and you get a little bit of a gap down the next trading day, but the blue line every single day remains above the black line. And so overall, the trend is bullish here. Again, we see these little gap down days coming after that neural index gets bearish. And again, we can look towards the VantagePoint predicted highs and lows. And you see how this works here is even early on where you get that snap lower, well, what's happening is you're just moving down to that previous predicted low level. And so within that, 24, 48 hour window, you've got excellent levels and guidance here to be a buyer in the market and know what levels are appropriate here. So again, you see about 4 or 5 entries on the way up. But again, noticing that broadly here, the overall trends are bearish, right? So, bringing this through just to sort of add some context of, even in a bearish market, well, where there's that strength, these indicators will skew, in this case, to the bullish side. And you see actually a lot of separation there, right? So going into a week like this, where we've just gotten more weakness from the broader market indices, very clearly here, Colgate and Monster in a pretty strong uptrend. So we'll go ahead and leave it there. Obviously, a very interesting, important week for the broader markets, and important to really be ahead of a lot of these big market shifts. So if some of these things are catching you by surprise and maybe you're noticing your tools are a little bit lacking to get you ahead of some of this market weakness, well, definitely go ahead and click on that link in the description, get some more information about these predictive indicators and tools. So once again, this has been the Hot Stocks Outlook for March 7th, 2025. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck out there, and bye for now.